All right. Fantastic. Kim Rayner, how are you tonight, young lady? How are you doing?
I am absolutely wonderful. Cold, but absolutely wonderful. And how are you tonight, Ms. Bow?
Well, I am doing very well, thank you. And it's funny you would say that because I also think it's quite chilly here in Wisconsin. But I will tell you, I was at a coffee shop today overhearing a conversation, and some women were like, "Oh, this is just my kind of weather. This is the kind of weather I love." And I'm thinking to myself, are you girls out of your mind?
They must
So
have been in perpetual hot flashes.
I just think, what is wrong? This is not okay. This
I
is
know.
not okay.
I got up the other morning and it was 17 below.
Oh my gosh. But I
Yeah,
am happy. I am happy that we are together tonight. And I'm happy that we have heat and that we have shelter. That's a good thing, right?
absolutely. It's a good thing.
So we're gonna
Absolutely.
we're this is the perfect timing to bring some happy back into our crazy, isn't it?
It is. It
Oh my gosh.
absolutely is.
Oh my gosh.
It is.
I
Yeah.
love I love the opportunity to be with you, Kim. I just think that one, from the day I met you, I feel like we really get each other, and we've always been really on the same page with the same mission. We've both had our journey, our path, at the same time. I think that it is worth us bringing the information to others because there's a lot of people right now, and I know you're experiencing the same thing as I am, Kim, that it's not so good and things are feeling really crazy and really out of control, and that's a very challenging place to be. So first thing I want to ask is if you guys are with us tonight, just to make sure you can see us, you can see our slides. Tell us where you're from, tell us who invited you, tell us something so that we know you are here with us. So we're going to watch the chat for just a second. I've got 31 people in here so far, Kim. I know we're going to have a great turnout tonight, but yeah, it's important that you guys can actually see us, hear us. Beautiful. So, oh, yes, New York freezing as well. Guys, they seriously say 30 below with the wind chill? Yes,
That's wrong.
yes, 30
That
below
is,
with the wind chill.
yeah, that's just wrong.
Oh, Hortonville, Wisconsin in the house, Massachusetts. Oh, Linda's on with us tonight. Oh, this is so good. New Hampshire's in
It
the
is
house,
cool.
loud and clear. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Well, you guys keep throwing it in there. Say hello to each other. Kim and I are happy to be together tonight. We are both educators. We both consider ourselves coaches of many. Kim actually is by profession, though, a law of attraction life coach, and I'll let her share a little bit more about that. Many of you know my name is Shelley Bow. I'm from the state of Wisconsin. I am a hardworking Wisconsin farm girl. Well, was a hardworking Wisconsin farm girl. Um, but what I've been doing for the last 22 years is supporting people in their health and wellness goals. And I've been doing that through a platform that's been given to me that's really supported me in being able to share and impact more throughout the entire world. And Zoom this year has made it even easier. So, Kim and I were really prompted a few weeks ago. We were having a conversation to bring this to you tonight because we're noticing that the world really is at a stage right now where people are sort of falling into such a fearful state that there's more negative self-talk than ever. There's more shame, guilt, addiction than ever. There's more depression than ever. And I feel like people are on this crazy cycle, and we're working to support you from behind the scenes, but we run into more obstacles. And as Kim and I were talking through this topic, I just said, it is time. It's time, Kim, for us to bring sort of the elephant out of the center of the room, talk about the hard issues that we're facing, and more importantly, actually bring it full circle and bring solutions to people. So, again, we're going to cover a lot of information tonight. We'll share some of our story as we walk through. But, Kim, would you mind introducing yourself to everyone?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. Thanks, Shelley. And thanks, everybody, for joining us on this crazy cold night. My name is Kim Rayner, and I am a certified law of attraction life coach by trade. I became a law of attraction life coach because I was diagnosed with cancer in 2007 and ended up having to leave my career. And I know firsthand what the crazy cycle is with health and wellness and emotional well-being and financial health, and how all of those things kind of mush together to make this crazy messy life. And certainly the events of the last year had a health component to it. They absolutely have a well-being and emotional component to it, and there's a financial component to what's going on. So when Shelley and I were talking, it seems like, yep, this is really the right time to be having this conversation. We think that there's some information that we can bring to the table and just maybe give you some ideas and pointers and some help in walking through your life. So yeah.
And that is the goal. And I would say for any of you who have met Kim and I previous to this evening's presentation, you know that we are here to give, love, serve, and bring value in any way, shape, or form that we can. We both hold the same belief that your health is your greatest wealth. Without our health, what do we have? And I think as we close the evening out and Kim shares more of her story, you're going to get a better understanding of where we're coming from. So I wanted to start with this tonight because I really think in all the traveling and all the training that I have done, whether it be business, health and wellness, whatever it might be, fear tends to be one of the most paralyzing factors out there. People are finding that they are buried in fear. It's paralyzing. So what is it? Support yourself tonight by taking time away, taking some deep breaths and going, what am I so afraid of? And where did this fear come from? Are you afraid of being ill? Are you afraid of failing? Are you afraid of what's happening in this world? Are you afraid that maybe your children won't be okay? Are you afraid of conflict, death? Are you afraid that maybe you're not going to be okay ever? Are you afraid of running out of money, making wrong decisions that might impact your future? Are you afraid of losing loved ones? What about the anger and the strife and the war and the traumas that are going on out there? Is it leading you to a place of fear?
Great questions, right? And, one of the things that I know is that fear, the acronym for that, it's false evidence appearing real. And so we walk through life and we have these things that we're afraid of. And oftentimes there are things that are associated with our history. There are parts of the baggage that we maybe bring from the past, or it's fear of the unknown. But whatever it is, it oftentimes is false evidence that we think is real, but other people don't share the same perspective. So walking through that process is what we're going to talk about tonight.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've seen, in conversations with people, if you really take the time to listen to what people are saying, most of this fear is coming from thoughts that are provoked by self-talk. And so when you think about the things we say to ourselves, and we've probably been saying since we were very, very young, and probably a lot of these thoughts have served a purpose in our life, but these thoughts now have carried into adulthood. How about the people that are going through right now the struggles with job loss and loss of loved ones, thinking, this. How about people that their lives are more sedentary and they're starting to see that they're gaining weight, and that brings about a little bit more fear, and the shame sets in. They don't think they're good enough. They wonder, is this world ever going to be normal again? Starting to see the strife in their marriage or their partnership, thinking that their kids are just so depressed, and the fear that goes along with that, and wondering if they're doing all the right things. People that are so concerned with just trying to put food on the table and gas in the car and make the car payment and make the rent payment. People feeling like they're absolutely helpless, starting to feel like they're a little bit crazy and like they're losing it. And the interesting part is, if you talk to enough people, you start to realize there's a lot of us that are caught in this crazy cycle right now. And I think one of them, Kim, that I've really watched you support so many people in is when they're working so hard to keep up on the bills and keep up on the mortgage and keep up on the credit cards. That's something that I know through your coaching you've been instrumental in supporting with as well.
Yeah, that is absolutely the truth. That crazy cycle that we get into, it becomes kind of self-perpetuating. It becomes where it almost becomes like a vortex and it feeds on itself. Maybe you have the financial issue that's going on, and that impacts your health and wellness because there is so much stress. And when you're under that kind of stress, your mental health starts to get impacted by that. And then you need to take a mental health day, so you can't go to work and you end up being sick and you lose money that way. So it just becomes this whirlwind of activity that goes around and around. And somehow, some way, we have to be able to stop the cycle. We have to be able to stop the spin. And there are lots and lots of different ways to do that. And, we're here tonight to help you find some of those ways.
Right. And Kim, I think again, if we look at, so it starts with this fear and sometimes that paralyzing fear, which leads to our thoughts. And we all know our thoughts in our body become one. They really become one. You have the brain that's in your skull and you have the brain that's in your stomach and oftentimes referred to as the second brain. There's such a connection with the vagus nerve. So what's happening is our behaviors start to mimic our thoughts and our thoughts start to mimic our behaviors. And what kind of behaviors are we starting to see now? People are falling into these things of overeating, excessively drinking, self-medicating, whether it be with medications or sweets, sugars, self-medicating with other drugs, falling into unhealthy habits, anything to escape, right? Lust and covet and porn and smoking and anger and social media and Netflix binging. And the sad part is that we've actually started to see these things as the norm and they're almost socially acceptable. But deep down, it bothers us and the shame grows and the guilt grows. We're pretending to be something we're not. We're pretending to be someone we're not. Look at the pictures, look at the stuff on social media. And then we compare ourselves to somebody's perfect life, the happy life. Look at how great their life is and what's wrong with me. And we tend to withdraw, don't we? So the more we see of that, the more we want to withdraw.
Yeah, and one of the things that I see a lot in my coaching practice is people who are spending money they don't have on things that they don't need to impress people that they don't know and sometimes don't even like. We end up comparing what's going on the inside for us on what isn't. When we compare to what we see going on the outside and the rest of the world. And that is such a dangerous place for us to be. If we could just hear what other people's self-talk is, we would see that our self-talk is not different than other people's self-talk. We may present ourselves in the world as one thing, but man, most people, if they're honest, they got it going on inside too. So yeah, and sometimes, the self-talk that we get, it's what helped us get to where we are today, right? It's habits. It's habits.
I agree. I agree. And so many of our habits, or I like to call them rituals, mimic again the standard that we've set for our life. So if we just want to be like the norm and fit in and do what everybody else does, like a chameleon, we blend in, we tend to develop habits that support that standard. Yet, Kim, you and I, thank God we have each other and we're surrounded by really fantastic people that help us to hold that standard higher. Because what happens is otherwise we fall into these very dangerous habits, habits that can really truly impact our future. Procrastination, hesitation, indecisiveness, withdrawing socially, overindulging in things that don't serve us well, stuffing our emotions, poor sleep habits. How about anxiety? Is that not the buzzword of the day? Every time I turn around, it's anxiety. I've got anxiety. Everyone's got anxiety. And I just think it's almost become the norm, and we've developed it into an actual habit, which leads into more shame, more self doubt, more negative self talk. And then, Kim, again, coming back to you.
Yeah, that overspending piece.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We go back into that overspending piece. And you were talking about anxiety. And when we are dealing with anxiety, it means that we are projecting into the future and that we literally don't trust the process of what's unfolding in our lives. And that is such a dangerous place to be. I mean, the only thing that we really have is the now. We're not guaranteed a future. We can't go back and undo the past. We can't change that. So how do we find a way to love and approve ourselves where we are right here, right now in the process of life? So yeah, anxiety is such an interesting thing.
And it impacts everything. It impacts everything. Kim and I have had conversations about, Louise Hay has written some books. And one of the neatest things is when you look at what your body is saying to you and you look at that, and it can actually be tied back to something physical and physiological coming from our mental state. So anxiety affects mind, body, and behavior. Anxiety is going to affect the way we feel, the sadness, the depression, the irritability, not feeling like doing anything, lacking motivation. So we talk about let's do this, let's do that, but you frankly don't feel like it. So we're going to talk through that tonight and support you in ways that we have found that help us to feel like it. In our body, you notice the tension, the fatigue. I mean, Kim and I can speak to this because we have it, because we're living in it, because we're overcoming it, because we're working through it. And who better to give you support than somebody who is actually in the crazy cycle with you and working our way through it. But the headaches that you get, These are signs and symptoms that your anxiety is too high, your hormones are out of whack. Behavior, you're going to notice that you're moody, you have outbursts, you're overeating, you're undereating, you're withdrawing, and procrastinating again.
Yeah. One of the things about procrastination is that it's a form of self-sabotage. And that too begins its own crazy cycle, right? We self-sabotage and then we get to push up against the anxiety of not having the capacity to meet our deadlines. So that starts that all over again. And it just becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. It's such a dangerous place to be.
So true. I love Kim. I mean, it's just so interesting when you say these things. Many of us are sitting here going, I've heard that before. I know that information. Isn't it just so good to get that refresher and that reminder that truly sometimes the behaviors that we have are self-defeating behaviors and there's a reason behind that. And all I can say is you got to reach out to somebody at those times of need. And Kim and I have worked together for some time now, but I will tell you, in the coaching that she does, she has an amazing and beautiful way of supporting you in the walk through that. So your question to us is, okay, so I'm crazy, I'm losing it, right? Yeah, you got me. How do I get off this merry-go-round? I believe success in life is not dependent on our conditions. I believe success in life is dependent on our decisions. So whether we believe it or not, we have a right and a choice to make our decisions in our life. We do not have to be a victim. We do not have to fight it. We can actually create it. And that's where Kim and I want to come in and support you with that very topic tonight. How do we create our future and get out of this crazy cycle?
Yeah, one thing that I want to say about that, those thoughts coming in, we don't have any control over the first thought that pops into our head, but we have absolute control over every thought we entertain after that. That is where the power of choice comes in for us. And the number one cause of stress in America today is money. And that's not me saying that. That's not Shelley saying that. That is literally, it is a fact. And, financial stress impacts our anxiety. It causes depression. It's linked to heart disease, to sleep problems, to weight gain, to memory, to concentration, to headaches, to migraines, digestive issues, the stress associated with not having enough. And I lived through the days of, do I buy peanut butter or do I buy toilet paper? I have to feed my child. I can probably steal toilet paper from a gas station. I'm buying the peanut butter. That's a horrible way to live. And Annie Harper, the PhD at Yale, she says if we solved people's financial problems, I think many of their other problems would go away. And that is so much the truth. So if you are one of those people who's sitting in the position that says, man, I got credit card debt, I got student loans, and yeah, they're deferred for right now, but what happens when I have to start paying on them again? Or I have a mortgage that I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to meet, or rent, or a car payment, or credit card debt, and I'm just using my credit cards to be able to pay my bills. How do I get out of this cycle? Please, please, please reach out to me, reach out to Shelley, reach out to the person who invited you here today. There are solutions. You do not have to do this stuff alone. Please reach out. We can help with that stuff.
Absolutely. Such a great point, Kim. And I personally have again experienced this as I've taken a very serious look at our budget and the goals that we have, and what seemed impossible has become possible. So don't be afraid to ask. If we can help you, we will let you know. If we cannot help you, we will know somebody who can. So Kim, this to me is one of the most beautiful slides in the presentation tonight.
Thank you. These are actually, I'm a firm believer in let's get out into nature. If you are dealing with stress, if you're dealing with anxiety, this is being out in nature is one of the most calming things. And these are actually all pictures that I took from my iPhone. So you don't have to be a huge artist or anything to be able to do this. But when I look at these pictures, it reminds me of where I was and what I was doing when that was going on. So when we get out into nature, there's a way that we can release that anxiety, we can release that stress. And, maybe you have to bundle up because it's cold outside. Nothing wrong with bundling up when it's cold outside. If it's warm where you are and you're feeling stress and anxiety, I absolutely recommend that my clients go out and they take off their shoes and socks and they stand on the earth not on concrete, not on asphalt. You stand in the dirt and allow the stress and the anxiety just to melt away from your body, to send it back down to Mother Earth, where it can be transmuted into energy that can be used for something else. And, I recommend, I'm a big proponent of meditation. There are studies, scientific studies that show that our physiology changes when we meditate. Our brains change when we meditate. Our DNA changes when we meditate. If you don't know where to go or how to meditate, a lot of times people will say, I don't know how to meditate. I can't shut my mind off. That's okay. Go out to YouTube and just type in meditation. You can find meditations for anxiety, for stress, for weight loss, for relaxing, for calming down, for sleep, body scans, all different kinds. So don't feel like you have to invent this stuff on your own. And one of the other things that is really powerful is breathing. I love doing the breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 6. There's something about that disengages your central nervous system. It deactivates that fight or flight reaction in our bodies, and it just calms us down. So I love doing those breaths. And sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes we need more than that. Sometimes we can't get out of the crazy cycle by doing these things. And when you can't, then, Shelley, I'm going to let you talk about what are some other ways that we can do that?
Well, honest to God, Kim, I'm a huge proponent of a holistic lifestyle, always looking at, okay, am I getting proper sleep? Am I doing breathing and meditation? And by the way, for those of you that are listening in tonight and you're thinking, seriously, I got to get in one of those Buddha poses and find my center. Yes, you do. Not really. I mean, guys, I used to take that word out of context thinking, that just seems weird to me. But I have found that truly just going on YouTube and finding something that matches where I want my state of mind to be and just doing the best that I can. You don't necessarily have to find your center, but if you want to, you could. And Kim does a good job of walking you through those. However, so again, I want to say, in addition to doing the best that you can to bring yourself to these healthy places and to breathe deep, we need to take a look, especially in today's society, because we have been experiencing a little too much crazy for the last year of our lives. How about an adaptogen? How about something that's herbal? How about something that's synergistically science-based, thoughtful blend, comprehensively put together that can support us? Bliss would be for someone that's just maybe having ups and downs, going through a little bit of a hard time here or there. Maybe that mom that says, or that dad that says, I don't want to raise my voice to my kids. I want to be a nice parent. Bliss might be great. Supports dopamine, serotonin. Maybe that person that's just struggling to get up and go a little bit. ACTS, ACTS, adrenal, cortisol, thyroid, and stress formula is that it tends to work phenomenally with clients who are struggling day to day. You never quite know if you're going to be up or down or where that mood's going to be. It will support more than just dopamine and serotonin. It will support all your neurotransmitters. So these are our top 2 recommendations for a natural, organically put together adaptogen that will support the mood that you're experiencing.
I can tell a great story about the ACTS. I have been literally displaced from my home since November 12th of last year. And it's been really challenging. And I ran out of ACTS for a period of time. And I could feel the difference in my body. And I took Bliss to make up for it until I could get the ACTS. But man, there was a really big difference between those 2 things. So I really appreciate the adaptogens. So what are some of the other things we do when we're dealing with stress, when we're dealing with the crazy merry-go-round? One of the things I absolutely am a firm proponent of is to unplug and disengage. What we put into our body as far as food and stuff is super important, but what we put into our body through our eyes and through our ears is every bit as important. So I really recommend that you unplug. You take one day where you're not listening to the news, you're not watching television, you don't get on your phone right before you climb into bed at night. You stay away from anything that's offering blue light as you're preparing for the night. Pick up a book, read, do something like that. Disengage from the crazy in the world and the stuff that makes your stress and anxiety get higher and higher. I mean, it doesn't matter, what you believe personally as far as government or as far as spirituality or as far as religion or anything like that, right? If you are paying attention in any way, any shape, any form, you're going to be outraged about something because there is so much crazy going on in the world. We have got to separate ourselves from that. If we can stay in the here and now, that is so much better for us.
Yes. And Kim, it's funny when you think about singing or humming, people probably think, oh my goodness, what kind of crazy women are they? Honest to God, you guys, it is such an escape. And all of a sudden, listen, it's pretty hard to be angry if you're smiling. Just try it. Try to be angry while you're smiling. People can hear it. Even if you are on your phone, people can hear it when you're on your phone. If you're smiling, they can hear it in the way you're saying your words. So sing and hum and draw and play and jump in the snow and fall in the snow and play with your kids or grandkids. You'd be shocked at just getting in touch with your little child inside, how that makes a difference. So when unplugging isn't enough, when you haven't separated enough, you still feel the pain of the headache and the tension and the stress and the anxiety. I'm going to recommend two things that I recommend to many of my clients that I believe support you and give you the most bang for your buck. Vitamin D3 with K2 and vitamin B complex in the methylated or activated form. Every cell in the body needs to have vitamin D3 to function correctly. Meaning, if we are deficient, there is a deficiency in each one of our cells. So, most bang for your buck, supporting mental health, mood, depression, heart, bone density. Vitamin D3 with K2 is going to ensure that your calcium intake is supported and travels to where it needs to be in the bone. So I highly recommend people with seasonal affect disorder, people with mood issues, people who are struggling with mood, vitamin D3, but let's complement it with the taxi driver, vitamin B complex. Many of us know supports somebody through irritability, stress, anxiety, headaches, mental clarity, mental acuity. B complex can be good for so many things. Heart health, your stress markers, homocysteine levels, B complex. These two products look kind of funny to you. They come in these crazy little bottles because they are in the isotonic solution, meaning when mixed properly, this powder with water, the absorption capacity is 90 to 98%. You are not going to find that anywhere else unless you are taking IV vitamins. So the beauty is you actually are investing in your health with something that is supporting you and absorbing at that bioavailable rate.
So this is actually one of my favorite slides. I mentioned that I'm an ovarian cancer survivor, and when I was diagnosed, they told me that I had a 30% chance of surviving that first year. I was 47 years old, and they said, get your affairs in order. And then they told me, even if I survived that first year, there was a 70% likelihood that the cancer would be back within 5. And all of the people who are listed in there on the left-hand side, those are my teachers when I was walking through my cancer journey. Those are the people who are on the cutting edge of education and of quantum health and of health that was it was homeopathic, and it was using quantum physics and using tools that Western medicine just doesn't acknowledge. And since my cancer diagnosis, they actually all came together and did this beautiful movie called Heal. So this would absolutely be a snapshot moment if you are interested in going for a resource that can help you give your body sustainable tools that can literally change your DNA. I would absolutely recommend that. Heal is available. I think it's available on YouTube. It's available on Netflix. So it's a huge foundation for healing.
And I remember, Kim, you recommending that movie to me. And I think you were the second person that had mentioned it to me. And I've watched it several times since, and now I pay that forward to others. I can't agree more. We need to understand that mind-body connection and the true possibilities. And again, we cannot sometimes separate from the high level of emotion that we're experiencing, the thoughts that are beating us down. Our thoughts become who we are and how we function. How do we support you in having healthier thoughts? How do we support you through the ADD, the HDHD, ADHD, the anxiety? How do we support you through those things? The OCDs, sometimes taking a look at what is helping me from a neurological standpoint. How do my brain messages connect? Omega 3 supporting that myelin sheath, rich in EPA and DHA at 1.5 grams, will support us in our inflammatory response, our neurological response, our thought processes. There are radical studies that are being done with repeat offenders, with bipolar, with all sorts of mental health challenges that people are experiencing. Omega 3 has been shown through many scientific studies to have a great impact on this. Where I've noticed it and I've increased this in my entire family through this last year is if there is a lot happening and there's a lot coming at us, I just increase our omega 3 and it will support us in that anxiety. And I've had several new clients throughout the last year who have said the same thing. So this is one of my favorite recommendations.
Oh, so adaptability. This is one of my favorite topics. You know, there are a lot of different ways that people react to change. We have some people who are early adapters. It's like 2% of the population who looks at change and goes, oh yeah, cool, this is an adventure, let's go. And then we have the, late adapters, which are the people who sit with their arms crossed and say, yeah, no, I am never going to do that. You can't make me do that. And then there's a whole gamut of people in between. So how we perceive change, it is going to be a precursor for how we move through our life. And one of the biggest decisions that we ever make in our life is whether the world is a safe or a dangerous place. And every decision you make after you've made that decision is going to be impacted by that decision. So if you're one of those people who say, oh, I hate change, don't make me do it, you set yourself up for having a more conflicted life, for struggling in areas that maybe aren't necessary to be struggling in. And there are things that we can do about that. We talked a little bit about our self-image, and mantras and affirmations are wonderful tools to help us certainly with our self-image. I have a list of affirmations that I share with my clients, and if you want a copy of it, I'm happy to share it with you. It is what I believe about myself, and it's what I say that I believe about myself, even in those moments when I don't necessarily believe it about myself, right? It's what I program myself to think and to feel about me, because what I think and how I feel is what's going to pave the way for how my life is going to unfold, for how things are going to turn out. So affirmations are a really powerful tool. Another tool that I really like are mudras. Mudras are, they're not something that we practice a lot in the West. It's something that comes out of Eastern traditions more so than the West, but they're the way that we hold our hands. So like if you take your ring finger and you connect it to your thumb, that will literally, the impact of that will be to disengage your fight, oh my gosh, your fight, flight, freeze mechanism. It disengages that part of your central nervous system. So if you just take your fingers and do that, and just sit quietly for a second, and just feel what happens in your body when you get still and you allow that to happen. So when you're sitting in a meeting and you're annoyed with the people who are in the meeting because it's not unfolding the way you want it to be, nobody needs to see you doing that, but it's a way that you can disengage. Another one is to take your pointer finger and tall man and put them together in like the OK symbol of your left hand, and then encircle those fingers with your right hand and just hold them in your lap. And it's a way to calm down your central nervous system if your anxiety is activated, right? So there's lots of different things that we can do. It doesn't take a ton of energy. Nobody needs to know you're not making weird noises or anything like that, right? You can just chill out. You can listen to podcasts. You can learn mantras. You can pop onto YouTube and see what you can find out there. So there's a lot of different ways that can help us in the process of adapting. And there are also times that that's not enough, right? There's times that we can't disengage. If we have months and months and months of stress, a mudra is not going to be enough, maybe, or self-talk's not going to be enough, or affirmation's not going to be enough. So what do we do then?
Well, I'll tell you what, your affirmations may be enough, because Kim was so kind to offer all of you to send her affirmations over to you. She offered me the same, and I took her up on that. And one day I was reading Kim's affirmations out loud, which are quite amazing, until I got to the one where my husband walked in the room and I was stating out loud, "The perfect man will come into my life at the perfect time." And I'm like, I mean, he's already there. And I remember just cracking up because I'm like, I think I'm reading Kim's affirmations right now. So, oh, Kim, you're cracking me up tonight. I'll tell you that, because I'm sitting here thinking, for those who are annoyed with us right now, just put your fingers together and breathe. It'll be okay. so, so what do?
Oh
Well, you
God.
look at the little bug on the left, and he's the little guy that's saying, "Listen, I don't want to get out of bed." And you're hitting the snooze, and you pull the covers up over your head, like, if nobody can see me, then I don't exist. Can I just stay here for a little while longer? Well, Turn Up is my solution to you. Instead of jacking up on some caffeine, how about Turn Up, where you've got rich amino acids that are raising up the energy and your mind and your mental clarity and mental acuity, and you feel like living again. Sometimes, guys, we just need a little pick me up to get the circadian rhythm flowing again, right? Or the little guy on the right that looks kind of like Kim has a couple of times when we've had conversations. And Kim, I'm going to have you share your little testimony with this product, but Turn Down, amino acids that help support the body, like L-tryptophan, raising the serotonin so I feel peaceful and calm, magnesium, calcium, B complex, the things that you can use throughout the day. The Turn Down product can be day or night, but it will help bring this little guy back down where he feels like resting. But Kim, I remember the day you and I were on Zoom and you looked a little bit like that guy.
I did. There's been a little bit of stress going on in my life. I mean, literally, I've been displaced from my home since November 12th, and that has been really stressful. So we were on a Zoom conference, and I was ratcheted up. My anxiety was up there. And Shelly looks at me and she says, "You need to go drink some Turn Down." And so I, put the Zoom call on hold, to the kitchen, grabbed the Turn Down, and I mixed it up and I sat down and I started drinking it. And literally, it was like somebody was taking a squeegee on the inside of my emotional body and just wiping it down. And I could feel the energy shifting in my body. And it was like, oh my gosh, somebody let out the corset and I could breathe again. And that was so amazing to me. I could feel internally this big shift that was taking place, not realizing that there was a chemical reaction going on in my body. And yeah.
And Kim, I remember sitting there, I could visibly see it. I could see your body relaxing. And I thought to myself, this is the truth when someone is deficient and the body is screaming. And Kim, there's nobody better than you that I've seen in my life to their body. When our body is telling us through how it's feeling and reacting that it is deficient in something, rather than give it a medication or a band-aid or cover it up, what if we just fulfilled the deficiency? And that's exactly what happened that day. Magnesium, calcium, B vitamins, and an amino acid called L-tryptophan. It was perfect. And that leads us to this little topic, Kim, one of the most important topics of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. So isn't that a great picture? I absolutely love that little guy. If people could sleep like that, the world would be such a better place. But man, there are not many of us that get to sleep with that kind of relaxation. And there's lots of reasons for it. I live in the Fox Cities, and the Fox Cities, we're a paper mill community. And there are lots of people who are working in the mill and they work shift work, where you are at the boss's mercy. You work third shift one day, you work first shift the next, and you're 3 days on and 2 days off, and this crazy rotating cycle where you never get to get a good sleep cycle. Sometimes there's stress going on in your life where it's like, man, I fall asleep and I'm just great, but come 2 o'clock, bing, I'm awake and I can't go back to sleep. And then I lay there and I look at the clock and I look at the clock and I look at the clock and I can't shut that down. When we go for long periods of time, right? 3 weeks without restorative sleep following that 90-minute sleep cycle. When we go for 3 weeks, that starts to have a physiological impact on us. When we get that fragmented sleep, as we get older, right, our hormones start to change. Women often, as they get into perimenopause or menopause, their sleep cycle starts to change. And that has a huge impact. It has memory, mood. It's an impact on diabetes. It affects your immune system. It lowers your sex drive. It increases the risk of heart disease. It has so many negative impacts. And if you go for 3 days without the proper sleep, that is the equivalent of driving a vehicle. Like if you get behind the wheel of your car, the equivalent of driving a vehicle with a 0.1 blood alcohol level.
Wow.
That is significant. You become so impaired. Think about how many nights you go to sleep or how many days you go to work and you're carrying the badge of honor that says, I only slept 5 hours last night and look at me back at work doing 120%. It's like, who decided that that was a badge of honor? Who decided that treating my body that bad was a solution to anything? What right do they have to decide that? Well, the truth is we decide that. I decide if I'm going to go to bed at 9:30 or 12:30. I decide what time I'm getting up in the morning. So the lack of sleep is a huge impact on people.
Absolutely. And Kim, one thing coming from the standpoint of somebody who really, really believes in healthy eating, macronutrients, looking at your plate, fat, fiber, and protein, all the proper macros, and making sure we're in balance. One of the things I've discovered with a lot of my clients and myself is if I'm not getting the proper amount of protein, my body will naturally work to produce adrenaline, which will wake me up at night because it's a stress hormone. If I'm going to bed and I'm super stressed, or like I used to do, against what I probably should have been doing, going to sleep watching forensic files or ID investigation where I'm listening to murder and mystery all night, I wake up with high cortisol. Imagine that, right? So I just want to say to everyone out there that there are things that we may need to sit down and talk with you privately about in a consult. And one of those things might be, where do we go from here? If you're really truly struggling with sleep, is it magnesium calcium deficiency? Simple as that. Is it your stress levels too high? Are we getting enough macronutrients in the food that we're eating? Is it something that we maybe got to look at turn down, where we're raising the serotonin up a little bit to get you to feel more relaxed and peaceful? Or do we want to go to the level of something that is a very herbal formulation with L-theanine and L-tryptophan and melatonin and hops and valerian root, something that is formulated specifically to support you in getting that 7 to 8 hours of good, restful, restorative sleep? This would be a great product. It was new this last year, Prime Sleep with Melatonin. So one of my greatest recommendations. See, guys, if you don't find time for wellness now, you will be forced to make time for illness later. We've got an entire regimen that we can put together for anybody, any walk of life, not pretending to be your doctor, but definitely supporting you. After 22 years in this industry, we know how to support somebody to the best of our ability, and we can take a serious look at that. So I certainly would invite you, if you have questions, to ask the person who invited you to be here tonight, how can I connect with you? How can you help me or support me? If you were invited here by Kim or myself, by all means, please reach out to us. That's why we're here. We've got all our information here. We invite you to a discount because you took the time to be with us. So if you're listening to this on Zoom or Facebook and you took the time to be with us, 10% off for any supplements you just choose to order, but make sure we have your email because we'll have to send you a link to get that discount. 2, if you decide I need to talk to you guys, I got to figure this out, then 15% off because that's going to take a little more time out of your schedule. We're here to serve you, but we realize that time is of the essence for you. Kim?
Yeah, when you were talking about if you don't make time for your health, you're going to make time for your illness. I know that firsthand. If I would have known how to listen to the whispers that my body was giving me as I was approaching my ovarian cancer diagnosis, I probably would have had a really different experience with that. What I can also tell you on top of that, it's a whole lot cheaper to stay healthy than it is to get healthy. My ovarian cancer experience was about $350,000. It was, 3 surgeries, 18 rounds of chemo, thousands and thousands of pokes, prods, pinches in places that you don't want to be poked, prodded, and pinched. So there's a way that, we often think, oh, it's so expensive. I can't invest the time and money. You will invest it one way or another. You're going to either do it when you're healthy and you're going to maintain that health, or you're going to do it when you're sick and you're going to try and play catch up. And catch up, I promise you, is no fun.
No fun.
No
No
fun.
fun. And then you'll be reaching out to find a good friend like we found in each other. Kim, I loved doing this with you. This has been an absolute pleasure. I know we were both looking forward to this evening, really because it's something that's near and dear to our hearts. We love people and we love supporting people. And sometimes I believe God gives us our great challenges in life so that we can do exactly that. So thank you for being my partner in crime tonight, Kim. I enjoyed everybody being on here. I enjoyed all your comments and your information in the chat, and you guys who have, just expressed to us that you've enjoyed this evening. So please feel free to share this out with people. And thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for being here. Stay warm and stay safe.
Bye, guys. Bye, Kim.
Bye, everybody.